Attention guests in the luggage claim area, welcome to the Jordania Volcano Hotel. A couple of quick reminders before you approach the elevator towards the lobby. Jordan's Soapbox is a show broadcasted on-site and supported via Patreon. If you would like to support what I do and not cause the country of Jordania economic ruin, consider supporting it for behind-the-scenes access and other rewards. It's recommended to frequent visitors subscribe to the channel and ring the bell for updates whenever new videos are made. Do you want to hang out with your fellow guests? Consider jacking in to the Cyberpunk Jordan Discord, where you can hang out with me and talk about Sonic and Sega stuff, among other things. And now, our elevator shaft will be departing for the lobby area. Thank you for your attention and enjoy your stay.
Worlds Unite. This flaming dumpster fire of absolute was unleashed upon the world in 2015. It's the inferior sequel to Worlds Collide, a much better crossover between Archie, Sonic, and Mega Man I talked about on a previous episode of Jordan's Soapbox. And if you couldn't already tell by my unnaturally angry and expletive demeanor, this is easily one of the worst things with Archie Sonic. I'm serious. I think we finally found something worse than Sonic the Hedgehog 150 and 151. Be afraid. Be very afraid. But when I actually sat down to review this stinker, there was a major issue. Worlds Unite is a long storyline, clocking in at 12 issues and 2 bonus issues. And while I wouldn't mind that for a storyline that I actually liked, such as Iron Dominion, it would be a slog for something I hated to review all of this. So instead, I'm borrowing from one of my main sources of inspiration, Linkara from Atop the Fourth Wall when he reviewed Civil War, where his video was structured as a list of things that sucked about it. So that's exactly what I'm going to be doing. Originality be—
Oh no!
Here's 10 reasons why Worlds Unite sucks. Number 10. Bad timing. When the original crossover came out in 2013, Sonic the Hedgehog was doing well, riding off the success of entries such as Sonic Colors and Sonic Generations. Mega Man, on the other hand, was an outright disaster due to several notable cancellations such as Mega Man Legends 3 and Mega Man Universe Online. Keiji Inafune, often erroneously called the father of Mega Man, also left Capcom to start his own company and launch his own Mega Man-like Mighty No. 9. Laugh all you want, it was truly revolutionary at the time. Worlds Collide was therefore an excellent continuation of Sonic's winning streak and a breath of fresh air for Mega Man fans. It was different when this crossover came out. Mega Man was still in limbo, and Sonic had actually lost his winning streak. At the time of release, Sega was undergoing massive restructuring, and the most recent Sonic titles were Sonic Boom: Rise of Lyric and Sonic Boom: Shattered Crystal in 2014, collectively being the worst-selling Sonic titles in history. Youch. Quoting Aaron Weber, who became the Sonic the Hedgehog social media manager in 2015, "Some of you will remember, but back then Sonic was in a tough spot. His latest game had failed, the entire San Francisco office was being shut down, and Sega was moving down to LA. If things didn't turn around for Sonic, and soon, I was worried about what the future held." Another factor was Worlds Unite came so close after Worlds Collide, and it was interrupting ongoing storylines in Sonic and Mega Man, which normally isn't an issue, but it was especially a problem because the earlier had a reboot, which we also talked about on a previous episode of Jordan's Soapbox, the post-Super Genesis wave, and it was trying to reestablish its identity with the Shattered World arc. So yeah, to have a crossover come in and kind of interrupt that was not the best timing. At all. Number 9. An overcrowded crossover. There is beauty in simplicity. I've talked about that multiple times here on Jordan's Soapbox. Worlds Collide only features elements from Sonic and Mega Man from the video games, making it simplistic and easy to understand for new and old readers alike. Unfortunately, Worlds Unite missed that memo. Worlds Unite was already going to be complicated with the addition of Mega Man X and Sonic Boom, the latter likely being added as Sega probably wanted to advertise it. But there's a ton of other franchises from Sega and Capcom, such as Skies of Arcadia and Ghosts and Goblins, among many others included in this crossover. In fairness, I understand why it would be exciting to see long-dead franchises like this come to life. At the time, Sega and Capcom really weren't interested in their back catalog, so it was nice to see something like this. But it unfortunately leads to an overstuffed, crowded crossover where we don't really have the time to spend with all these characters, even if the small moments are quite fun. Number 8. Being canon to the comics. This was one of the biggest mistakes of Worlds Unite. This crossover is canon to the events that were occurring in Sonic the Hedgehog and Mega Man. Expecting the reader to have been reading both Sonic and Mega Man before this is absurd and leads to more confusion. Like, I can't imagine someone who has only a basic understanding of Sonic and Mega Man reading this and being like, wait, who's this cute chipmunk? She wasn't in any of the Sonic titles. Considering how well Worlds Collide was accessible with the creative choices it made, I can't believe Worlds Unite didn't do the same. Number 7. A nonsensical plot. You could summarize Worlds Collide in 2 sentences. Dr. Eggman and Dr. Wily join forces and want to take over the world. Sonic and Mega Man team up to stop them. Wait, that was 1 sentence. Regardless, I can't even summarize what's going on in Worlds Unite, but I will try. Sigma, from the Mega Man X series, is our main villain who travels through Sonic's world and infects Cubot, one of Eggman's robotic lackeys, and forces him to work for Sigma by smashing the conch. I'm calling it the conch. I'm not calling it by its actual name. That's too confusing to pronounce, and I don't give it. That was controlling the Deadly Six, as he conquered Lost Hex. He ends up bringing in Dr. Wily to help him create a new body for Sigma, and then enlists the doctors to assist him in taking over reality itself, unleashing Unity engines to merge worlds together so Sigma can become stronger and a god. This is an oversimplification and leaves out so much. Even the arc's attempts to recap previous events in the Last Time On summaries are several paragraphs long, and it's just a fantastic example of how needlessly overcomplicated this was. Because it's full of things that happen, but aren't anything memorable or remotely interesting. Except the stuff that does because it's dumb, such as Shadow dies. I'm not going to be talking about too much about specific moments in this crossover, but this is one of the exceptions. Despite this crossover being stuffed with Sonic and Mega Man characters, there's one notable exclusion. Shadow the Hedgehog.
I heard I was being excluded.
Correct, your Archie counterpart was killed off early in the story when a gun carrier and government building fused and exploded.
What a pathetic way to die.
Would you have wanted more explosions?
Yes, and more gunfire.
Why am I not surprised? If you wanna, get your anger out, there is a gym downstairs. Is he gone? Oh boy, nobody tell him that we don't have a gym yet. That's currently undergoing maintenance because of nuclear radiation leaks. Don't ask why. Anyway, it's such a stupid and nonsensical way to kill off a very popular character. And I understand Sega was starting to possibly have mandates for Shadow, I don't know. But even if that was true, you're telling me you couldn't have had something for Shadow to do? You have a gorilla from Sonic Boom, but not the ultimate life form? Pathetic. Number 6. Art. I usually don't talk about the art of comics here on Jordan's Soapbox, but I darn well should start. Unfortunately, we're going to have to be going over some very negative examples of that. The art of Worlds Unite in general is a mixed bag. You have someone like Dan Schoening on lines doing spectacular work that seriously makes this thing look like a darn anime. And then you have Gary Martin doing whatever the heck this is. Seriously, what is with these expressions? They are creepy. I get it that a singular artist couldn't work on 14 issues of this, but to go from amazing to bleh is just such a headache-inducing affair. Constantly. Number 5. Bonus issues. Yup, Worlds Unite pulls a cardinal sin by having bonus issues in the form of battles with 2 additional issues. I really hate event comics in general for this reason. It's not enough for them to just have a main series with an event. Oh no, you have to have all of these comics to collect. It's one of the reasons why I'm not going to be covering things anytime soon, such as Star Wars Dark Droids, even though I would really love to. It's for that reason. It is a lesser offense in that there's only 2 additional issues, but honestly, they just add more context to the story or are just fun bonuses that should have been included in some way in the main books. There was no excuse to have additional stuff outside of main books. Especially considering the fact, I'm saying this from personal experience, most comic book stores at the time didn't carry all the different comics for the main crossover. Thankfully, they are including the trade paperback editions, so the damage is done a little less. It still sucks though. Number 4. Sigma is uninteresting. I really love Sigma from Mega Man X, and he's grown to be quite a presence in meme culture. But my word is he boring as dishwater in this arc. He's just played off as a "I want to take over the world and become a god" thing that we've seen countless times before in other media. I've seen Sigma's depictions in other Mega Man related media. You could have done a lot better with this than just making him a generic villain, come on. Number 3. Cancelled comics. Oh, this is going to be a fun one. During the crossover, 2 permanent hiatuses, cancellations happened, both of which were decisions made by Archie Comics instead of Sega or Capcom. This fact will become important later for a future video. Mega Man will be going on indefinite hiatus shortly after Worlds Unite, which was literally like the worst thing you could do when you're trying to sell people on this comic, which heavily features Mega Man, you absolute darn buffoons. Sonic Boom was similarly announced to be cancelled during the crossover as well. The 2 announcements threw cold water on what should have been a celebratory crossover. And it was a dark sign of things to come. Number 2. Raccons. I don't mind retcons too much. I recognize the post-Super Genesis wave did end up changing a lot of the canon in Archie Sonic. However, one retcon is so stupid that I just need to talk about it. When Dr. Eggman is recounting the events of Worlds Collide, he mentions, quote, "We met not too long ago. One of my recent experiments had turned out poorly." Now, you might think this is a reference to Sonic Genesis, which you should be right, but the comic slaps you on the face telling you, no, you're wrong. As it turns out, Worlds Unite has decided this is referencing the end of Sonic Generations, with the editor's note being that, quote, "The Super Genesis wave rewrote all of history." This makes absolutely no sense, as the end of Sonic Generations had Eggman stuck in a white void. How the heck did he get out? How on earth did any of what has transpired so far happened? I know that in the post-Super Genesis wave, Sonic Genesis was retconned to the events of Sonic Advance 2, which itself doesn't make much sense. They would likely be very confused by Eggman's statement here. To my knowledge, there was nothing preventing Archie Sonic, even in the post-Super Genesis wave, from referencing older issues. Sonic 247 was mentioned several times in the post-Super Genesis wave. To retcon like this is just blatantly absurd. Also, you know what joke I have to make. The Super Genesis wave rewrote all of history. Can it rewrite Archie vs. Ken Penders? The Super Genesis wave rewrote all of history. Can it rewrite my taxes? The Super Genesis wave rewrote all of history. Can it rewrite having to review the comic? And number 1, it was totally pointless. I am not asking for a crossover to have long-term consequences for franchises involved. But in the case of Worlds Collide, it did for Sonic's world. Sonic's world was forever changed. So this crossover actually had some teeth to it. Worlds Unite literally ends with the stupidest possible twist that a terrorist known as Xavier, he's been in this entire crossover pretty much from the beginning, uses his retinal implant thing to travel to the exact moment where Sigma escapes from Sonic's world, shooting them and thus making the events that transpired null and void. You waste the reader's time with an uneven and uninteresting crossover only to say, "Oh yeah, by the way guys, the crossover never happened and everything's just back to normal without any consequences. What a crock of shit." And that was Worlds Unite. I have to be honest, this is one of the worst pieces of Archie Sonic related media I've had the displeasure of reviewing. And yes, I do believe it is now worse than Sonic the Hedgehog 150, 151, because my word, nothing worked with this arc at all. Questionable creative decisions, horrendous writing, terrible art, behind the scenes stuff that just should not have happened, among many other things. If you ever do see this out in the wild, I recommend skipping it. You're better off. Read the original Worlds Collide and forget this thing ever happened. It wants you to do that anyway. And that's all for this episode of Jordan's Soapbox. Join us next time as I try to figure out how to fix the censor bleeper because, yeah, I broke it today. Worlds Unite does that to people.
Thank you for visiting the Jordania Volcano Hotel. We hope that you'll visit again soon. Before you leave, would you like something from our gift shop? Becca has the latest and totally not looted goods from all over the world. One item of note is the subscribe button, coming from the US state of California. It works best when you ring its bell and turn on notifications, so you don't miss an episode of Jordan's Soapbox. We also have a limited edition video that we also think you might like, and a collection of Jordan's Soapbox episodes in a playlist, all for the price of... Wait a minute. Free? We're giving this out for free? Becca, we are...